Oh, oh Lord. Let me resume recording. I hope you will have been good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, good
Okay.
evening.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I just needed to make sure. So, the last time we were in class, we um spoke a little bit about uh file operations. Well, I think I touched on file types, the types of files that we had, the regular files, directories, symbolic links, and how to identify the file types using the ls-l command. And then I also spoke about we ran some operations with you know, on files, creating files, viewing files, copying files, moving files, and you know, deleting and creating directories. And we went into file permissions where I said that file permissions control who reads, writes, and executes the file, and that every file has, you know, three categories for the owner, three categories for the group, and then create and three categories for others. And I I remember that we also touched the chmod command where we tried, or well, where we used the symbolic method to change users permissions. And so we're going to take it up from there. And for today's class, I'm going to um, cover the numeric method of the file operations chmod, because if you remember, I said there are two methods using chmod. You can change file permissions using two methods, which is the symbolic method and the numeric method. So I'm going to take it up from there to talk on the numeric method, and then we'll go into file ownerships and how permissions and ownership works together, and then we'll um, also touch on find, you know, searching files, archiving and compression of files, creating and editing text files. And if we have enough time, we'll go into the next topic, which is user management. But let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Um, okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So when we spoke about permissions, the type of permissions that we have, I mentioned um read write. One second, let me pull up my Obsidian. I forgot to pull that up. That's where I write my notes. Okay. Mm, okay, all right. Let me pull that up again. Okay. So when we spoke about file permissions, if you remember, I said there are three basic types of permissions, which is the read, write, and execute. So when we touched the symbolic method, read had the symbol R, write has the symbol W, and then execute has the symbol X, right? But in this um the numeric method, right? the permissions have a numeric value. So for each permission, read, write, and execute, each of them have a numeric value, and those values, those are the values that are used to calculate the read, write, execute permissions that each category of users gets. So for in this case, right, read has the number 4. So if read is equals to 4, read is always 4. Write is equals to 2, and execute is equals to 1. And in the case where you have no permissions, then the dash in this case is 0, which is you have no access. 0, none. All right. Now, if you remember, I said each user category, that is the owner, the group, and others, they have 3 permission sets each. All right. So if you're to calculate, let's say, full access for a user owner, that means you would do a calculation of 4, which is read. So let's say we want to give a user read, write, and execute, right? That's RWX. If you remember, when you type ls-l, it shows you all these permissions. So if you are trying to give a user read, write, x, let me make this bigger so you can see it. Put this to the side. So if you're trying to give a user read, write, execute, that means that the user is going to have 4 plus 2 plus 1, which is 7. So full permission is equals to 7 on a file or directory. And that's how you calculate it for other symbols. And I have a table here. I think these are all the possible combinations that you can get for the permissions. So in the case of 6 here, we have read and write, which is, if read is 4 and then write is 2. And then you have the dash, of course, which means that the person has no execute permission. That means the person that you'd be, giving this permission is only going to have read and write permissions. And that means that R, which is 4 plus 2, 6. So if you're going to use the chmod command, that means you'd be doing something like chmod 6 blah blah, and then the file that you're trying to apply the permission to. Same goes for read and execute. In this case, the person does not have write permissions, so that means just read and execute 4 plus 1. And of course, write is empty, basically 0, so you're not adding that. So 4 plus 1, that means this person. So if you see 5, that means that the user or the group or whoever it is has read and execute permissions. And that's how you calculate all of these combinations. Now, it is not always going to be just a single number, because if you remember, I said we have 3 sets. So if you look at my example down here, you would see 755. It is always 3 numbers when you're trying to run chmod with the numeric method. You'd always have 3 numbers. It doesn't matter if you're giving if you're giving no permissions to the other sets. All right, as long as you're trying to use the chmod numeric method, you'd need 3 numbers. It makes it easier for you to understand that way. So in this case, in my example down here, we have 755. Now 7 for the owner, 5 for the group, and 5 for others. Sorry. So 755, 7 for the group, 5 7 for the owner, 5 for the group, and 5 for others. That means that the owner has full permissions. Read, write, execute, 4 plus 2 plus 1. So you've calculated the owner's permissions like that. Read, write, execute. That is 4 plus 2 plus 1. Now for the group, you have 5. That means 4. It is always 4 plus 1 make 5, because I think they've made this calculation in a way where you don't have two possible outcomes, with or where two numbers can have the same outcome. Let me put it that way. So we know that when you see 5, 4 plus 2 can never be 5, and 2 plus 1 is definitely not 5. So you know that is 4 plus 1, which is read is 4, and then execute is 1. And then same goes for others too. So in this example, the first case, you have full permissions for the owner, read and execute for the group, and then read and execute for others. Now, in my second example, we have 6, 4, 4. So in that case, it is read and write for the owner, which is read is 4, write is equals to 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6. And then for the group, we know that 4 is the only thing here that is 4 is read, and then read permissions for others. So 6, 4, 4. So let me quickly run some command, like, give you an example so that you can see. Let me quickly log in. Okay. So where am I? Oh yeah, that explains it. I'm going to go into this one. All right. So one second, let me see what I have down here. Yeah, I still have my files from the previous class. So if I run ls-l here, just to see all the permissions that I have. So my file.txt has read write for the user, read write for the group, and then read permissions for the owner. So if I'm to translate this into the numeric method or the numeric symbol, so we do know that read is equals to 4 and write is equals to 1. So that means that 4 plus 1 is 5. So this is 5. This is also 5 because the group also has just read write. This is 5.
I thought
And
right
then
was 2, not 1.
I'm sorry, can you say that?
I thought right was 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Right was 2 and then execute. Thank you. We're following. Thank you. I got distracted. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, that's read write. Read write 4 plus 2 is 6. 4, then read the second read write 4 plus 2 is 6, and then just read, which is 4. So in this case, we have 6, 6, and 4 on the file, on this file, file.txt. So let's assume, right, that I want to give this file, I want to give all the users, that is the user group and others, I want to give them full permissions, right? That means that I'm going to run the command. Remember that chmod, which is change mode, to change file permissions. And then in this case, it's going to be the numeric symbol. So full permissions, we know that just one full permission, one set, which is read, write, and execute, is 7. So 7 for the user, 7 for the group, and 7 for others. On what file are we trying to change the permission, which is file.txt. And if I run enter and I run my ls-l again, you would see it right here that my file has full permissions now. All the users have full permissions, unlike what we had here earlier. Now, let's say we want to go back to what we have here, right, which is 664. Let's say we want to go back to these permissions that we had. We just run the same thing, chmod 664 file.txt, enter, and then if we run ls-l again, let me just do this on so that you'd see it directly. And we're back to where we were. Read write for users, read write for group, and read for others.
Anu, sorry, this is very tiny. Somebody just even made a comment. It's tiny.
Oh,
Can it be
okay.
made bigger?
Let's see. How about now?
Better.
Okay, I apologize for that.
Then
I didn't
quick
see the
one.
comments.
I know in your last listing, I see D there. I thought file.txt is a file.
Yes. So
Why
yeah.
D?
Well, D shows whether it's the directory or file itself. I'm just trying to get the exact without showing all the other
I thought that would have
files.
worked without D. If you do without D, it
Well,
should
in this
still
case,
give you the same thing.
no, it's going to show all. So without D, this is without D right
No,
here.
as in with the file directly, ls-l
Yeah,
file.txt.
it would still work. It's just I'm going to call my case a memory stuff because I run it with directories. So it's just something I did. Either way, it's still going to work. Thank you. So I'm so used to just typing -ld that I did that. So what was I saying? Yeah. So we running chmod 664 right here got us back to read and write for the users, read and write for the groups, and then read for others. So another example, just one more example before I move on, because I'm trying to cover as much as I can, is let's say we want to give only the user read and write, and for every other set, which is the group and others, they have no permissions. That would mean that we know that read write is 6. Now for others, that's 0. And for group, that's also 0 because they wouldn't be having any permission. So that just stands for 0. So if I run that and I run my ls command now, I can just arrow up to it. The permissions for others are gone, and we have 6, which is read and write for our user app admin right here. So that's how to run change file permissions using the numeric method. All right. Any question before I move along?
Yes, so you don't need to add like the way you are doing it with the arrow WX in the previous class. You don't need to add the operations like add, minus, or equal to when you're using the numeric.
Yes, that's correct. You don't need the addition or the
Operations,
subtract. Yeah, all those operations, you don't need them.
Okay.
Yeah, because you've practically done it yourself. If you look at it, if you actually think about it, you've done sort of addition and subtraction while trying to get the numbers. So yeah. Any other question? Okay. So file ownership. So really, if we look at this, we're seeing that file ownership is quite important, when it comes to changing and changing permissions or running basic operations on a file. So file ownership really basically determines, which user owns a file and which group owns a file. So, of course, we know that the user, the owner has primary control over a file, and group ownership, because like I said, group is a group of users that are together, a single group. That means you have multiple users together. Like, think about it like a family, members of a family. So like a group. I'm sure you guys all know what group is. So it allows sharing access, with a group of users, specific users. Maybe they are related based on their job description or their team or their department. It really doesn't matter. But the key concepts behind this really is that every file has at least one owner, of course, and at least one group, right? So the owner is always the user who owns the file, and the group, which is the group that is assigned to the file. And the way they work is that, of course, the owner defines, usually has full access, of course, depending on other permissions, but the owner has, much more control over a file. And so the way Linux checks the permissions order is usually the owner first, then the group, which are the group of users that would have access to the file, and others, which is, the other users on that system. All right. So we've seen how we can change the permissions on a file. So how do we change? Because of course it's possible to be able to change either the owner of a file. The owner of the file can always, the owner and the root user can always change a file ownership, right? The user owner and the root user can change a file's, or when I say file, I believe you know what I mean, a file's ownership. So we're talking about changing either the user owner or changing the group owner. And a command, I forgot to actually add this to the slide, but the command that is used to change the ownership of the file is shown, that is change. Let me type it. That makes it easier. Change ownership. That's basically what it stands for. Right? Change the owner and a group of each of a file. All right. So it allows you to change. And then these are the options that you can run with it. And I'm just going to run one or two examples. All right. I'm going to run one or two examples here. So I have a root user on my system. And I'm going to, right now, I'm still going to stick to my example file right here, which is appadmin, right? So I'm going to, I mentioned this the last time, but I'm going to mention it again. Now, this section shows the user owner of the file. And this shows the group that the file is in, which is the group owner. Now, usually when you create a user, and we're going to get to that, hopefully we'll get to that in this class. when you create a user, it creates a primary group. When you create a user on Linux, a primary group is created for that user, which is the same, it is named the same as the user's the username. Let me put it that way. So I am user app admin, and my primary group, the first group that gets created for me is app admin. So most of the files that and directories that I'm going to create that are mine are going to automatically have my app admin name, which is the group. All right, but this can be changed using the command change ownership. So chown, I call it chown, CHOWN. And the usage really is chown and then the username. So there are different ways to run this, but the easiest and let me put it this way. So user group and then file name. Let me make this bigger just in case you all can see it. So this is the format right here, chown, which is a command. So if you're trying to change the user, let's say you want to change a user's this file's user owner to, let's say, roots, you type roots and then the group too. If you have a different group, let's say you have an admin group or whatever your group name is, so you have the colon and then the group name and then the name of the file or directory that you're trying to change. So this can work in different ways because there are times that you just want to change just the owner of a file, or you just want to change just the group of file, right? So the way it works is, so for example, I'm going to use my file.txt example file. Let's say I want to change my app admin user. I want to change the user owner to root, right? The command to do that, just the owner, all right, is root and file.txt. Just this, all right? That is chown the username that I want, and the name of the file. And if I definitely need to do that with sudo. So when I ran this command, I need to talk about this, although we're still going to talk about it later on today. When I ran the command, it says changing of ownership file text operation not permitted. Now, there are some commands that needs privilege escalation in Linux, where you cannot just run it with your as a regular user. Let me put it that way. You need some power or some basically privilege to be able to run it. And that is where what I just ran right here, sudo, that's where it comes in. Where you, so for regular let me say regular, for commands that you can't run as a regular user, where you get some errors like operation not permitted, you can use sudo, which is switch user do, allows you to run some commands that you would not run as a regular user. So it kind of moves your privilege up to a sort of root user privilege, and then you get to run that command. But we're still going to touch on privilege escalation. Hopefully we can also get to that today, because that's part of the things we're supposed to do. So, and then of course this bang that I did is just to run the previous command that I ran, so I don't have to type everything. So if you look down here, you printed it out again, this is the command that I ran before without the sudo. So it just basically added the sudo before it, and then the command that I ran before, which is change owner root file.txt. So if I ls-l on my file, you'd see right here that the user owner has changed to root, and my group is still the same, because in this case I just ran root, because if you remember our syntax right here, we're supposed to have user :group and then the file name. So, but of course, the example I was trying to run was to just run it as just to change the user owner. So let's assume that I want to change the group owner to also root. All right. And a way to do that is to also still use chown, sorry, not chmod, chown. And then you'd need to, so in the group's case, you need the colon before the group name, because so this is the format here, and in the user's case, it assumed that because you did not have a colon beside it, that means that you were referring to the user, because this is the format is user :group. So when you have just a name without a colon and then another name, then the system is going to assume that you are trying to change the user owner. Now, if you're trying to change the group's owner, you would need a colon in front of the group name that you're trying to change to. Else, if you run it without the colon, it's just going to assume you're trying to change the root, the user owner. So in this case, it's going to be chown and then root, which is the group, and my file name, which is file.txt. Oh, I usually forget to do every single time. So if I run ls-l on my file again, Jafar, you have your hands up.
Yes, Anu, just quick question. When I use the sudo, I was requested for password. I see that yours doesn't request password even when you had the privilege.
That's because I did some things.
I didn't get that,
But
please.
that's because I did some extra things that we would still do in the class, because I'll still show you how to add your user into the sudo as group. But right now, if you run sudo, it's definitely going to ask for password.
No, I say
Simon?
it worked for me. I put my password.
Yeah, that's
Yours
what I'm saying.
was
That's
not
what I'm saying.
the
Yeah,
password.
that's
Okay,
exactly what I just answered. That
okay.
I added my user to, that's what we call a sudo as group. So there's a file that you need to edit to be able to run this command run sudo without requesting for password.
Okay, got
Simon,
you.
you have your
Okay.
hands up.
Yes. Does this mean that there is a group that exists that's called root?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So if you run a command and you specify a group that doesn't exist, you get an error, right?
yes, you definitely get an error.
Okay.
You need to create the group first, or create the user, and then run that. So
Sorry, Anu. I think what you just said now, I could easily say the name of my group is Jafaru here with this change ownership, not necessarily roots being a directory. I think that will work still.
can you say that again?
I'm saying, referring to what Simon just said, I could say the name of my group is Jafaru and it will work. I'm changing ownership to the group name Jafaru, or changing ownership to the user Jafaru. It would work still, not root. Root is a name you just gave.
Yeah, root is a name of a group. So if you have a user or a group named Jafaru, then of course it's going to work.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So where was I? Yeah. So right now my file is owned by both user root and group root. All right. And 1 second. Oh no, not yet. So that is Anthony, you have your hands up.
Yeah, sorry to be like I'm dragging you back, but um, is there because I never created a password for sudo, so I don't understand why it's asking for a password and how do I get that?
You use your regular user's password.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Is there any other question? Okay. So now if I want to change this back, of course, if I want to change I'll definitely love to change my user and group back to my app admin user and group. So a good way to do that, of course, is definitely, I need to do this time because it's root definitely. And I'm going to call this app admin to do this at the same time, to change both user and group at the same time. And my file name, which is file.txt. Oh, my bad. I forgot to type the command, which is shown. All right. And if I ls on that file, there it is, app_admin. So this is your syntax, the chown, which is change ownership, user, group, and then the file name or the directory name, either ways. All right. Now let's quickly run this on a directory. Let's see, what directory do I have here? Nginx. Do I really want to do that for Nginx? Okay. So right now my Nginx is owned by app_admin and app_admin. All right. And if I list everything that I have in Nginx, well, most of it, they're owned by user app_admin. Aside from these few ones that I have here, but the rest are owned by user app_admin. So we know that the user app_admin is the owner of Nginx directory, and the group app_admin is the owner of Nginx. So let's say that I want to change the user to root. Why do I keep typing change mode? And if I click enter right here, sudo, and I ls again on my Nginx, it shows that the owner right now is user root. All right. Now, if I try to do that for the files in Nginx, you'd see right here that the files are still owned by user app_admin. Now, this command that I ran just on, where is it right? Okay, here it is with the sudo. So sudo chown, of course, the root user on the directory, which is Nginx, only changed the user owner for the directory and not for the contents of Nginx. That is not for the files and directory within Nginx. Because if you remember, I think data and let's encrypt, they've had the root user before I ran the chown command. But in a case where I want to change all the file owners, including the directory itself, I want to change the directory and all the directories that are contained within Nginx. I want to also change them to have the user root, to be owned by the user root. That means I need to do this recursively, right? It is going to change all the files inside my Nginx directory. And I'm going to do that. We're going to use that using, let me just type sudo, I don't have to do that. Change ownership. And this time I'm going to do a capital R. Oh, well, I mean, we could always check which recursive. So recursive right here is -R. So, oh yeah, I deleted that. So -R, and then our root user on the file nginx or well directory. So if I ls-l nginx now all the files in here, and I hope this doesn't break my nginx, but all the files in here are owned by root, right? They are owned by the root user. If you remember when I ran ls-l before, we just had we were only able to change it using we're only able to change the root user for the directory and not the directories and files within Nginx. But when we run it recursively, it changes both the directory and all the directories and files within that directory, which is Nginx. So I'm going to change this back to my AppAdmin user because I definitely prefer to have AppAdmin. And I'm gonna call this Nginx. So if I ls on my Nginx now, we have a user back to AppAdmin. So that's how to change the user owner and user group of a file. Now for groups, right? There's another command that you can use to change groups, which is chgrp. All right, and this works for groups. All right, this works for groups only. And you know, here's the usage, blah blah blah, recursive, the group name, and the file. All right, and I'm going to use my file here as an example, my data file. So I'm going to change just the group, which is root, because I already have AppAdmin as a user. So I want to change the group to be AppAdmin and not just root for the file data. And just for the file data, because if I ls what I have in data, I have additional files within data. But I just want to do this for data, for the data directory itself, without changing what I have within what I have within the data file. So yeah, let me clear up this. So I mean Nginx ls, yeah, I'm trying to do this for data. So the command is change group and the name of your group, which in my case is AppAdmin, and then the name of the file, which is data. I'm not trying to do this recursively, so I don't need -R. I'm just going to stick to change group to AppAdmin data. And before I actually do this, let me show what we have right now, so that way it's easy to follow. Okay. Oh, my bad. That was on. So if I run my change group command on data and I ls-l again, you would see right here that my data group, my root group has been changed to AppAdmin. So it's no longer in the root group, it's now in AppAdmin. So that's how to change the user owner and the group owner of your files in directories. Jafar, you have a question?
So the simple difference is change group does not have colon. So it's colon
Yeah,
that does
it's
differentiates
just for
both
group.
of them.
It's just for group.
Yes.
Yes, that's because it's just for groups alone. So and change owner, which is shown, changes for both users and groups, but change group works for groups only. That's why it doesn't need a colon.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other question?
Yeah. So when you recursively change ownership of a directory, it only affects the primary content of that directory. Like, for example, if
No,
you
it
have
keeps
data.
changing it. No.
No.
So let me quickly, I think I know what you are trying to cook. You're trying to see, so for example, if I have, so the way I have access in this, which is also a directory, will it change the owner? And yes, it will. So I just changed, I think when I already cleared that. Earlier when I did ls-l on what I had in data, it was showing, well, I didn't change the group recursively. And I mean, I can show you that right now, but it would definitely change what we have in data. So it's going to change the owners of this, not just going to stop at the first level. And I can quickly show you that, right? So let's say I'm doing on data, I believe that's it, right? And I was trying to change it to AppAdmin. Wait, so big is now if I ls what I have in data, right? We have, oh no. So if I ls what I have in data right now, it's showing AppAdmin. Is that right? Now if I try to ls what I have in access, well, access is as nothing. Let's see. Let me see my Acme challenge. Or logs. Let's see logs. It's changed it to, because logs also had it as root. So it changes everything recursively. In fact, I think Nginx is another way. It definitely changes all the files and directories. It keeps changing it up until the last file. All right. Let me clear this up. Any other question?
Yes, I just have one question. And CentOS and the kernel, we can't use sudo.
Yeah, you can't use sudo on CentOS.
Okay.
You can't use, no, I'm asking. I haven't used CentOS.
Oh yeah, I can't.
You can't.
When I try
So
to
did you try the CentOS password? You should be able to.
Yeah, I tried to CentOS password and it said fail. It said authentication failure.
What about, okay, I think that would probably mean that you switch to the root user and then, okay, so let's try this, right? Can you share your screen? Let me show it with you and then others would follow, others that are using would follow.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Okay.
So
I know you can see the glitching. See the glitching.
yeah.
I see a picture too. All
Yeah, I
right.
think
So
someone
now
spoke about changing the video graphics, I believe. I think someone mentioned something like that. I haven't used
Look at it.
VirtualBox in a while.
Wow.
yeah, it's glitching ever since I started sharing, but it wasn't glitching at
Uh,
first.
oh,
But
okay. So it
let me
started
just
when you
do
started sharing. Let me quickly search that. Let me quickly search that up. So,
because when I did this like that, and then I told my password and I put in the CentOS or CentOS, and then it tells me authentication
wait, hold
failure.
on. I see you. Yeah, no, this is confusing me. Let me just let's find a way to fix that glitch. Centers been glitching on VirtualBox. Let me just quickly
Okay.
search. Okay, so flickering would probably be a right word. Okay, so this is running right now. Let's see if we can change the. I know it's definitely it's probably going to do with graphics.
So probably in settings.
Yeah, we're definitely going to settings. It has to do with the graphics, but you need to power off the machine.
Okay.
So display graphics controller. What graphics controller are you using? Is there a way that you can make this a little bit bigger, like Control Plus or something?
Can you see it?
Yes, I can. So this is the graphics controller. What is this showing as the graphics controller?
It's showing as VMSVGA.
Okay, so the video memory, let's increase that a little bit. Let's increase the video memory to let's see. Let's try 64.
Okay.
You can edit it by the right.
Oh,
Is the
maybe I
VM
need
still
to
running? Is the VM still running?
yeah, I got
Yeah,
yeah,
you
I
have to
have to
power
get it.
it
I have
off.
to okay.
Okay, so display.
And you said 64?
Yeah, it's 64 gigabytes.
Okay. And do I change the graphic
Yeah,
controller?
I think that works. That should be good.
Okay.
Can you go back to the set? Oh, you already started. Never mind.
Oh yeah, you want me to stop it?
No. Let's see what that does. Yeah. Okay. It's taking a little bit of time to start up.
Yeah, it's taking a long time actually. It normally just starts right up. Because I'm sharing. Maybe I should stop sharing and let it load. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you finish,
Okay.
when it's done loading, then we would you can share. But I mean, I was still going to touch on like
Okay.
privilege escalation and all that in class today, but maybe once I'm done with this, then we can quickly show. I can actually even show on my screen, but I already have it set up.
Okay.
So yeah, let me resume sharing. So that's really that about changing ownership and changing groups. Now we're going to go into searching files, and I decided to stick with to find because find is quite popular and I pretty easy to understand. So searching files on Linux is the command to do that is to use the command called find. All right. So this is the syntax right here. Find the directory that you're trying to search in, where you want to start the search. The options, these are like the popular options that you would use with the find. There are others, of course, but what I have right here on the right is, the options that you would run with the command, and then expressions. So expressions are like a combination of characters or values that are used to like define search patterns. So you can think of it like filtering. When you search on your Windows or Linux and you're trying to filter through your search, maybe you're filtering, using like a name, or maybe I know I use the extension of the file, or the file size, or maybe the date it was created, really anything. So you can think of expressions like that, in a way of like you're kind of like filtering. So you can find by extensions and you can find by name. All right. And here we have the the syntax that you usually use, which is find, and then of course directory, like I mentioned. It could be anywhere, and then the type. So for the options that we have, you have type. When you see type, you're talking about the file type, which is usually, file for F, file, directory, D, L, link, B, blocks, C, characters, etc. So depending on your file type, the name of right here, the name of the file, which is usually where you would have more of the expressions. Now, I have some globs here, globs and reject symbols that makes searching easy, because personally, in my own experience, searching for files have been because I have a very large directory, and I'm trying to just grab the file that I'm looking for, or I can't remember, the location of the file. I can't remember what directory the file is in. So these globs, they would help with, patterns. Really, they help you define, the patterns that you would use for your search. And using my example right here, the first example down here, find in var log. So it's looking for, the search is going to happen in the log directory. And the type is F, which is file. That means you're searching for a file. And the name is, so in this example, you don't have the actual name, the full name, but you do know that it ends in .log. Now, the asterisk right here, what it does is it matches all. That is, it prints all occurrences, anything that ends in .log, all the files that end. So just see the wildcard as all. Wildcard, all. It's going to show all the match that has, or all the files that ends with .log, because that is how you've stated it, or you've defined your search. Right? Now, I'm going to show some examples with these globs, but let's just quickly look at my example with finding by name. So of course, in this first example, find, now it's going to the root directory. That means you are looking for this file named config.yaml, and you are starting from the root directory. Now, something about our search, something about find is that it is a recursive search tool. That means it searches folders and subfolders automatically. You don't need to define -r for, you don't need to tell it to search recursively. So if you're searching in a particular directory and there are other subfolders or subdirectories within that file, within that directory, it's definitely going to search for it automatically. So find is a really good tool, and I'm going to show just some short examples on how it can be used, right? So I'm going to go into, let me go into Varlog. Since wait, let me see. Yeah. We have some files here that we can use Varlog. Perfect. Now, these are the files that I have in this directory, and I have different types. As a matter of fact, I actually don't even need to actually go into Varlog, but then I'm going to stick here so that I can show, we can compare and contrast, sort of. So my first command is find in Varlog all file types named with the name that ends, that is, the name is all file types that ends in .log, right? So find, let me even just quickly do a -help. Now, you don't always have to define the directory. So when you don't define the directory, then it's going to assume that you want to search in your starting from your current directory. All right. So you have operators that you can use, but I have decided to not really go into operators. All right. And I think the few options that would be really good for you to know is the name. So if you're searching for a name that is, so the flag name itself is case sensitive. So if you're searching for a file and it has a case, and you're searching for like a match like that, then it might ignore it because of the case. Well, depending on how you search, depending on your expression, really. And then you have the iname, which is case insensitive. So that doesn't take the case into consideration. It just searches whatever you have, and then you can use the size flag to match file size, and then the user flag to match file owner, that you can search for all files owned by a particular user. All right, so let's run the first example. All right, so I'm going to do find, and in my case, I don't really need to type varlog any longer because I'm already in that directory, which is varlog, and the type of file that I'm looking for is a file, regular file, and the name, I want all the files, all star files that end in .log. And if you click enter, now it showed all the files. Now remember I said it's a recursive searcher. If it does a recursive search. Now if you look at this directory here, which is unattended upgrades, it's a directory itself and not a file. It doesn't end in .log. It doesn't have .log, but it went into that directory and searched for files that ends in .log, because that is what my search does. So you can see all the files that is showing right here, they all end in .log. So that's what the wildcard does. It prints all the match all. It prints all matches that you can get with your. So another way, well, I think another one that we can use, I can see a .gz here. So we can tweak this and say, look for all the files that end in .gz. And if you print this, please, sorry, give me a second. All right, I'm back. Sorry. So, where was I? Yeah. So this printed, all the files that end in .gz. Now you can see some here. Ayo, you have your hands raised.
Yes, sorry. Sorry to take you back. Can you scroll up a little bit? I want to it only finds files that end with, for instance, .log. It does, so if the .log is in the middle, it won't bring it out, will it?
So yeah, it's because of what I just defined here, it's not going to bring out anything that the files, because it's not, what I did right now is it ends in .log. It has nothing in front, like it has it's going to pay attention to this asterisk, which is everything that ends, because that's what I have now. This is star, all that ends in .log. I didn't put it there that you might have anything else behind it. And we can try that. We can try. So let's say,
I noticed the alternatives.log.1. It didn't bring that one out. So I was just wondering why that one was
let's
missing.
ls again, so that when we do this, it's going to be much more easier. So I'm going to run up to that command now, and I'm going to add another wildcard behind it. So that way it's going to put into consideration that there are other files that, it is possible that the .log is right in the middle of, and then we have characters in front, and then we have other characters behind it.
Okay, I understand
And
now.
if
So
we
it just
run that
contains it.
now, yeah, you can see here that now it's printing even the ones that have .log within it.
Okay, okay.
All right. So with this wildcard behind it, then it's going to put in consideration that there are other characters that are after .log. All right.
Okay,
Unlike
understood.
what we did before.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any other question? Okay. Yeah. So let me see. We're trying to find .gz files. And yeah, these are the files that we were able to search. So this is a good way to search for, to use the find. So I think I also wanted to show. So for question mark, well, it matches any single character, right? So let's say that, what's a good way to give this example? If I have a find or any expression that has, I'm going to use log2 that has this in the search. This is just a basic example for you to understand this character right here. What it does is it matches any single. So the question mark stands for a single character. And think of it like any character from A to Z can fall into this question mark. So we can have LAG, LBD. And so if we have files here that just have L question mark G, it's going to print everything as long as it starts with L and it has a question mark and it has a G. And it's good. So it stands for a single character, and you can actually use it. You can use 2, 3, I don't know, or 4 of it, but you can use it. And let me think of a good way to use it for this log. Okay, so we have lots of dmessage files here. So I can say find, and the type I'm looking for is still a file, and the name here would be where's my right here in this file. But let me start with 1. Well, I mean, it doesn't really, oh yeah. So now the files that were found, it found just this. Now, the way this works, it is going to stick to how many characters that you present to it. So right now I typed so I counted this in my head. Calculated it in my head, which is DMESG. And it was just, these files. And then I think we have others here that it can search in because we don't have the permissions to search within it, to do a find. And you can do that with sudo, I believe. Okay, so there was no file. I think the only file that it found a D message in here is this one, this file right here, and it's stuck to what I typed in, which is DMESG. So each of the question mark stands for a single character. It's not like the wildcard where it doesn't matter how many should I say words or characters that you had either before or after the file. This stands for a single character. And I think you can actually mix this up with if you do Let's see. So in this my expression right here, it's showing that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 characters, but that starts with D and end with SG. And I don't really care about, or I don't know what characters are in between D and S, but they have extensions, that is, they end in dot star. Right now, unlike the first command that I ran, this time it gave me the other files, and it doesn't even matter if I did a dot star or I just did a star, it will still print out the same thing, because I'm telling it now at this point that even though it starts with D, some characters, and G, we still have much more characters behind it. Now, like I said, unlike star that doesn't really care about how many characters or what you have behind or before the file, question mark would just really stick to each character that you're trying to represent. So for example, if your file is a 3-lettered file, let's say CAT, and you put CA question mark, this means that the file that you're looking for is a 3-lettered, the file is a 3-lettered file. And that is just what, so it could be CAP, it could be CAR, it could be CA anything. If I had another question mark, then at this point it could be anything, but it is just a 4-letter file. The file is named a 4-letter word, more like, let me put it that way. So that's how the question mark character works. I hope I've not confused you guys. Do you have any question before I move ahead?
What's the difference between find and grep?
Okay. Good question. Difference between find and grep. Okay, so grep and find, right? They are, sorry, I had to drink water. Now, find is used to search for files and directories. That's the core idea behind find. While grep, the core idea behind grep really is to search the content, text patterns inside a file. So it's like your control find within a file.
Right.
All right. So that's how grep is. That's the major difference. Find doesn't really care about the contents within a file. Unlike, well, of course, when it comes to directories, it just looks into the files and the directories within the directory, the subdirectories, but it doesn't really care about the contents of the file. So it just searches for your files and directories and doesn't look. So grep really is to just search for text inside your file. Arnold, do you have a question?
Sorry, so I'm going to build on that same question. So in this case, it doesn't make sense to say something like, let's say, sudo find minus dash type, then the pipe, and then instead of f minus dash name, you then say grep, in this case, DMES, just say grep DMESG. Would that also work in this case? I mean, like, instead of using the
so what you're trying to do is to find a file type and then grep for
the name. Yes.
The name.
Yes.
Well,
I know different syntax. Find has its own syntax. Grep has its own syntax. So if you use
I think I get what he's trying to say, but like I've said before, I think I've mentioned this before, is that there are different ways to get things done in Linux. There is no one way to things, and so it really boils down to making things really simple and not noisy. I mean, we could try it out. I don't think I've even ever tried that before. I don't think I've ever tried that before. So let's all try it together and see. So we are trying to, let me ignore the studio. So we're trying to find, let's look for, let's see. So find, and we are doing our type. So we do know that the type is file, right? And then you're trying to grep. So in this case now, you're just trying to look for all files. And then you're now grepping for, oh, sorry. That was, okay, see, that works. Because he did grep it. He brought all the files and grepped. Did it search recursively though? No, it did. Well, no, that's for GZ. I mean, I would not completely know. Let me try with GZ. Let me just do grep GZ. Oh yeah, it did. So it did the recursive find, and then grep. See, that worked, and that is one of the fun things about having your VM and Linux and just trying things out. The
But
more
this,
you
sorry, this output is the text strings inside all the files from the find command, if I'm not wrong, right?
no, so it's not the text string now. Now
Okay.
in this case, because you are doing a redirection, an output redirection, it's not looking at your file now. It's looking at your output from this command.
Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
Yes. So it's looking at it like in a way, sort of a text, and then
Right.
just grepping. Yeah, that's just what
Yeah.
it's doing.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. Any other question? Okay. All right. Interesting. So, let's touch on tar, because I really we have so much to cover and we're like way behind. I don't know how we're going to get to cover up the topics that we need to get done before 28th. So let's talk about tar. Let me pull up my notes. Where's my notes? Okay, so now I want you to think of tar or gzip and bzip, all of these as practically zip on Windows, where you have a group of files that you want to bundle together into an archive. And that's what the tar archive, that's tape archive, that's what it does. It bundles your files together into a single archive, and we usually call it a tar or a tar ball or a tar file, actually. All right, so we can now, usually tar is used with compression tools, and that is where gzip and bzip 2 comes into play. Right, gzip and bzip 2 are the tools that are actually used to produce the tar ball. So tar works together with gzip and bzip to actually create the archived file. So gzip is the oldest compression tool, I think, and so when you compare gzip, I think we have gzip, bzip 2. I think there's also xz. I said I was going to type that. Okay, well, I can't because I'm actually showing right now. So we have xz, we have gzip, and bzip2. Those are the compression tools that we have. And gzip right here is the oldest compression tool, followed by XZ is the newest, XZ, and then of course followed by bzip. So this is their file extensions. So this is how you would know them, right? When the file name .tar, which is our compression, actually the archive tool, and then the compression, which is gz. Gz is the compression tool. So and the way they all differ really is based on their speed and memory usage. I think gzip it offers like fastest decompression, because when you're really talking about compression tools, right, you have large files, and speed is one of the things that you'd consider. How fast can you compress or decompress your file, which makes gzip very, very, very ideal for files that you'd usually like access. XZ is also fast, but not as fast as gzip, I believe. And then another thing is that gzip is compatible. It's like the standard. Usually, I would say personally that I use gzip much more than even bzip. So gzip, this right here, is the standard, de facto standard for compression, for compressing files. So we're talking about archiving and compressing files. And so tar is used to archive and I'm sorry, 1 second. Why are you? All right. Yeah, sorry. So how does I was saying, yeah, I was talking about tar and compression. So I think the core idea behind this that I really want you to take home is that tar does the bundling of the files or the directories into one file. It doesn't really compress it. It just packages the files together. And then gzip, the compression tools, which is gzip or bzip and xz, they do the actual compression, which is really reducing the size of the file, because that's what compression does, shrinking the size of the file to make it easier or faster to share. So these are the major commands that you would use with gzip and bzip to compress. Let's start with gzip anyway. So let's start with gzip. 1 second. Trying to pull up. Okay. All right. So we have tar. Okay, there we go. So tar saves many files together into a single tape or disk archive and can restore individual files from the archive. So tar does the bundling, and then you would use it with a compression tool, which would I'm looking for the flag for one of it right here. I think dash Z. Okay, compression options. There we go. So dash Z is to use the gzip. Dash J is for bzip2. And I'm trying to look for the one for dash XZ. Oh, the capital J. There it is. Dash XZ. I mean, there are others, but XZ, bzip2, and gzip are like the popular ones. And like I said, gzip is like I would say industry standards, if that's the right word. So let's run a couple of examples. All right, let's run, and I'm going to use my dialog file right here as an example. So to use gzip to tar and compress using gzip is really simple. See, the command really is the same, because if you look at this command right here, let me say the blueprint is the same. It's just just a single flag that makes the difference between when you use gzip, when you use bzip2, and when you use xz. And so if you're trying to create an archive, dash C is to create. That's what it does. Dash C is to create an archive. Dash V is verbose, that is to show an output or verbose your output. And then F is the name of the file name. And then archive.tar, and then the path of the file that you're trying to archive. All right. So let's try it with one of my examples here. So in the case where I want to use gzip, the difference, so like I said, like the blueprint is basically the same when you're trying to create an archive, which is the CVF. But then when you're trying to, of course, using it with a compression tool, when you add a Z, then it shows that you're trying to use the gzip compression tool. Now, if you change that to a lowercase j, then you're using the bzip2. And when you change it to an uppercase j, then you're using xz. And then, of course, if you want to try out the other compression tools right here, I think I just saw them now. Their flags are here. LZMA, LZTOPS. I have never used those ones before. All right, so let's run an example here. I am going to archive. Actually, as a matter of fact, going into the log file, we can see some gz files right here. They've been compressed. Anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that because I remember seeing that. So let's assume that I want to I want to compress, I want to archive and compress our log file right here. Please give me a second. Oh my. And the first example I'm going to use, sorry, I'm back, is that Z. So tar dash C, which is indicating I'm trying to create a tar file, and the compression tool that I want to use is Z, which is for gzip. Verbose, now the verbose option really is optional, but it's something I use a lot, but it's really optional. As long as you have your create, your compression tool, and the file name, you'd be good. So my file name, I'll probably call this log.gz. All right. And the file that I'm trying to archive or bundle together is log. And if I run this now, okay, I have some permissions denied right here for some files that I don't have access to. I'm going to try that with sudo, and there we go. This is going to take a little bit of time. All right. Now, if you ls here, if you list what we have, we can see our log file here, and it's red, which is showing that is, I think for some shells, they use the colors to show the different file types. So, but usually you either use the DL here, or the color, or the extension, which in our case is the GZ. So we know that it's a tar file that has been tagged with GZ. So that's how to bundle a file together. That's how to bundle a file. So in a situation where I want to use bzip, I'm going to change this to a lowercase j, and practically, and then of course the extension. So with the extension, now it's usually always advisable to use the right extension, because that way it lets you know the right tool to use for decompression. All right, that's one good thing to do, to always use the right extension. So when you're trying to decompress or unarchive the file, then you know the right tool to use. That's best practice. So if I do this, it's practically going to do the same thing. That is going to take a little bit of time. And if you notice, it's slower than gzip when we were archiving with gzip. Yeah. It's the same file, but it's taking a little bit of time, much more than when we archived with gzip finally. So if we ls here, we have our bz and we have our gz. Now, I mentioned using the right extension, which is bzgz in the case of xz. And like I said, that's going to help you know the right tool when it's time for you to decompress or unarchive your file. Then you know the right tool to use, because you whatever tool you use to archive, you have to use the same tool to to decompress. Or, well, so if you compress with gzip, you have to either decompress or unarchive with the same tool, which is gzip. If you used bzip, then you have to extract with bzip too. All right. Now the command to, so let's say I have this file already and I want to extract. I want to extract the files from just like how you unzip on Windows. So let's say I want to unzip, or in this case, I want to extract the archive that I had created. And it's practically the same thing, like I had mentioned earlier. The only difference is the X, which is to extract your archive. So if I try to extract this log.bz, it's going to do that too. It's going to probably do that here, and I don't want to do that here, but I can change the path. So it's the same command, which is the tar command, but this time you're going to pass the -x to tell it that you're trying to extract from an archive. All right. And in the case of GZ, I'm going to stick to GZ because GZ is faster than BZ, and we have limited time. This is 8:14. In the case of GZ, right here, like I said, is -z. All right, which is Z. You don't need to type the dash again. And then if you want verbose and the file. So in our case now, the file that we tarred is log.gz. So we have multiple log.gz here. And the final command is where we are trying to archive, or on archive into, that is where we are trying to extract into. So where I don't want to extract this into Verilog because I already have a Verilog here. So I'm just going to put it in my user's home directory, and I'm going to run enter. This tilde is a shortcut for your user's home directory. Tar. Oh my God. Start a phone call. Please, 1 second. Oh my God. Sorry, my bad. So apparently my home users directory did not expand properly. So I'm just going to use home and app admin. What's happening? Video status. That is, no, it's not sudo, but let me try sudo.
I believe you need sudo, I guess.
No, it's not sudo. If it was sudo, it should have said operation not permitted or not allowed. I'm going to quickly check this. I just tried it with sudo. It's not a sudo issue. Okay, let me make sure that. Okay, what I could probably do is to move that log file here and try to tie it from here. log.gz here. Well, I can now sudo that. So if I ls, I have my log.gz here, and now I'm going to try to extract it here again. Log.gz, do that here. Or maybe I'm missing a file. Oh yeah, I was missing a file name. Yeah, I was missing a file name. That was what. Okay, yeah. You guys saw the error that I faced. So that was because when I typed it, I did not specify an actual file name. I just told it to archive in my current directory without actually specifying a file name. But when I gave it a file name to actually direct the archiving to, then that worked. That was the error that I encountered, and that was why I saw that error. So once you're doing that and you have an issue, if you run it from your var directory here and you have the same issue, so what would have probably worked is, maybe I don't even need sudo. Let me just arrow up, and you use your tilt. You can provide a file name for it for that to work. So if you do log1 and you error, no such file I would direct you. Yeah. Okay, did I? Yeah, let me just stick to home users in this case. Let's see. App admin log1. I think this should work now. I don't know for some reason why it's not working from my var directory. But yeah, that's how to tar and untar. So if you really think about it like zip, then you'd understand it. So tar is just to bundle the files together, while gzip, bzip, and xz, the other compression tools, is to reduce the file size. Basically, that's how they work together to archive a file. Any question? Okay, we have just 9 minutes left, and I really want to get to this, because once we get to this, we just finished week 1, and it's about editing and creating files. It might take a little bit more than definitely 9 minutes. So if I get a yes from you guys, would probably finish in, let's say, 15 minutes tops. Do I have you guys thumbs up? Thank you. Okay, thank you. All right. So let's go back to my user's home directory. This is where I am right now, OMAP admin. And after this class, you guys have an assignment. But anyway, let's continue with this. So creating and editing text files. Now, for Linux, you have 3 major file editors or text editors. You have VI, you have Vim, you have Nano. 3. I put Vim and VI here because I think they are the hardest type of file editors. I don't really use them. I use Micro, which is, I don't know if there are some actual Linux people that use Linux here, but Micro is you should check it out if you can. It's a really good tool. It's like Word on Linux. It's like a word editor on Linux. It's really cool. But let's stick to VI and Vim, because that's what you find on all Linux distros, major Linux distros, VI, Vim, and Nano. So they are just how they sound here. Text files editor. They are used to edit files. I use it to create files because if you do VI, so if you do VI test, I don't have a test file here. Now, if you do VI test, it's going to open a prompt for you. Now, this is like, it's opening up an empty file for you to edit and put whatever you want to put in it. So there are some basic editing tools that you need to know, editing shortcuts, if that's the right word, or keys that you need to know while working with VI and Vim. So I use Vim a lot. VI is the older one. Vim is the newer version. But if I ever have to edit, I use VI. This is just based on my personal preference. But Vim is much more new. I'm trying to see when it came out. Let's see. Yeah, I know that's the classic. Yeah, I can't see when, but anyway, Vim is the much more improved because it's basically VI improved. That's the full meaning. So the core idea is it's a newer version of VI. All right. And yeah, let's work with VI or Vim. It's practically the same thing. If you do, let me escape this. So if you do VI test, or well, if I ls now, of course, the file is not going to be here because I didn't save it. So, or Vim test, you get the same prompt, all right? So it's either or. I'm going to stick to Vim because I like VI. VI tests. All right. Now, right here, if you try to type anything, oh well, if you try to type like basic things, now I just entered again, it's not really going to work. Okay, try space. If you try space or something, it's not going to work because right now it's just waiting for you. It's waiting for a sort of prompt. So you need to be able to get into different modes, and you have the different mode, which is normal. This is the normal mode that you're looking at right now. This is the default mode, right? Now, in this mode, you are able to navigate or search or go to a particular line when you are on this normal mode. And the way you would know is that this bottom section is just going to be empty, and then you have your cursor right there waiting for you to type. Now, for you to get into the editing mode, for you to be able to type text, you need to press I, just I, for insert. And then if you check down here, you can see that it's showing inserts, which means that if I type anything right here, I can easily type because I am in the editing mode. So let's echo hello world. All right. And now I have finished typing. I want to close this. Now, once you finish editing or doing what you want to do, to get out of this insert mode, you need to press your escape key, your escape button on your keyboard. So that's how you get out of the modes. You press escape and you get out of the mode. Now, for you to save a file, to save this, for example, I want to save what I just typed right now. Now, to actually enter a command into VI or Vim, well, command is the best way to put it, but it's not really technically command. It's just short for it to know that you're trying to either save or quit. Is you have to type the colon. All right. So if you but first you have to make sure that you have exited the editing mode, because if you are still in the insert mode and you type colon, it's going to show right here at the top and not at the bottom, because you are still in this insert mode. So first you need to escape from the editing mode, then you type your colon and it will show at the bottom of this at the bottom of the screen or at the bottom of the file. And then so to save a file, right, is you write write. Now this will just save the file. If I press enter, right, it will just save the file, but you are still right there on the mode. And of course, if you want to continue editing, you can, type your I and keep inserting words. But what if you want to save it and then you want to move away from these prompts that you have right here? Now, to do that, you need your colon again, and a shortcut for that is just X. So what X does is X would save and exit it at the same time. It will exit the editor at the same time. Now, if I cut my test right here, I have echo hello world because that's what I typed earlier. Let's go back into the file. Now, I'm going to another let me say shortcuts that you can use for VI is O, that is letter O. What O does is going to move your cursor to the next line and activate the insert mode at the same time. So you can edit, but it is starting from the next line and not the line, the previous line that you were on. All right. So let's say that I have a typo right here, escape, and I don't want to save this file. If you edited a file or you opened a file and you do not want to save your last edit, what you just do is, don't forget, you need to exit the insert mode by pressing your escape key and then the colon again and a quit. You have a quit and an exclamation mark right there to show that you do not want your last edit, which is this nonsense that I typed on the screen. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to quit. Now, it's going to quit the screen and it's not going to save what I did. This last line that I typed is not going to do it. Now, Q works alone on its own, but then that is only if you've not made any change, you've not made any edits to the file. If you have edited the file after opening your file and you just type colon quit, it's going to show this right here that you've already made a change. If you want to, you have to add, it's going to remind you right here that you need to add the exclamation mark to override the changes that you did. And so what you just do is to type your exclamation mark. So that would, and so if I cut my test file right here, you'd see hello world without the bad lines that I typed earlier. That's one of the ways to save and quit on VI. Now, for editing, I already mentioned, let's go back. I already mentioned I for insert. I mentioned A for O for append for new line below, going to the new line. Now, for A, so if for letter A, what it does is it moves your cursor to the right. So if you type A, it moves it to the right, and then immediately you can start typing. All right? It means you can start typing. It means you can start typing again. But you see, the annoying thing about Vim, if you can see, is that you can't click to go back. So you have to move your cursor, your left cursor to go to the left, and your right cursor to go to the right, and your up cursor to go down. You use your cursor for navigation, basically. If you are going up, right, that's the annoying thing about VI and Vim. All right. So that's now to delete, easy. So don't forget that you need to escape the insert mode for you to run some of these commands and navigation commands too. So if you want to delete, for example, I want to delete this echo hello world again line. All you just have to do is press D 2 times, double Ds, 1, 2, and that line is gone. That's how you delete. So it deletes line by line. So that's what DD does. And then of course your regular back delete button deletes one after the other, but of course you have to be in the insert mode. I think for Windows there's another delete button. Let me see, that works in the normal mode, and I think that's
It's
the
X.
delete.
Use X if you want to delete. Go to command mode. Use X. It will delete one by one.
Okay, yeah. For let's see. Okay, it works for here too. I actually haven't ever done that because I don't really use Vim. Actually, it's a pain. But there are some environments that you are just stuck with it. You don't have an option. You really need to know it. So yeah, like Jafari said, in the normal mode, when you type X, it deletes what your cursor is highlighting, I believe. Yes, that's what it does. So let's type my hello world again. And one that is really useful that you would really need to know, right, is going to the last line. And maybe in this case right now, it's not so useful because of course, I just have a line here. But what if you're trying to edit a file that has about 1,000 lines and you're just trying to do something or, go to the last line? So for that, you would use Shift G, and that will take you to the last line, of course, in my case, which is still the first line. All right, Shift G. So let me do this. So let's go back. So if you do Shift G, which is like capital G, that takes you to the end, to the last line. And then when you're on a line and you're trying to go to the end of the line, instead of having to press your right arrow button to go to the last line, you can do a shift $, and that takes you to the last character on your line. Shift $, will take you to the last character on on your line. And then if you're trying to search or you need to go to a line, now let me just quickly copy and paste. See. Okay. Okay. One more paste. Oh, okay. Let me see if this is going to work. Okay, that worked. All right, I'm going to escape this and we're going to assume that, so this is line 5 right here. It shows it right here. So this place shows you the line and right here, and then the other number shows you the character. So yeah, on the second, third, but they call it column, right? Fourth column, fifth column, and so on and so forth. So I am on the last line. And so to go to line number 5, that is what you just do. You press the colon and then the line that you're trying to go to, which in my case was 5. If I want to go to line 3 and enter, it takes you to line 3. And then let's assume that I'm just trying to add something. I press shift $, takes me to the line of the line, and I can just add my text, which I've forgotten that I'm using shift G. No, not shift G. Okay, let's go to line 3 again and then shift $. All right, I forgot to enter the insert mode. So escape. Now I'm going to save this with my right W, right? W, and then I can quit. Now I remember I told you that :X does save and exit. Another way to save and exit is W and Q. So what it does, it will write and then it would quit. WQ would write and quit the VI's prompt. I think that's like the major okay, yeah, let's I haven't spoken on I haven't tried yanking and pasting. Well, so VI test. So to yank a line or copy a line, you press the Y, 2 Ys, that would copy it. And then to paste is P, just press P. And that would paste it on the line after, the next line. It's paste it on the next line after your cursor, the cursor, where your cursor is currently located. If I move my cursor up again and press P, you see it's moved down and then entered and pasted the line there. So to copy and paste, copy is YY to copy a line, and then to paste that line, you just press P, and that copies, that pastes. I think that's like the major operations or operations that you can do with VI or Vim. Then, and this is what we have in our test file. Any questions? Is there any question? Okay, so let me escape this. So for what we've done so far, we have an assignment. And the assignment is actually really, I believe it's straightforward. But if you have any questions or confusions, just reach out to me. Let me know. I'll answer your questions as I get them, as soon as I can. I'll post the link to the assignment, but it's really on the same Linux doc file that everybody has access to. And then the slides are also available, and then I'll make the recording available as soon as I get the recording. So if there is no other question, I know that I'm supposed to meet with Jafaru. He has an issue with his VM. And Makida, did your VM get to load?
But then it was glitching ridiculously. So I turned it off.
God.
It was going.
I need to. Oh, you can stay so that I'll research how to fix that, really.
Okay.
Okay, so for everybody, have a great night. Thank you for coming around. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Because Grace.
Thank you.
Anthony, have
a good
you
evening.
have something? You too. Thank you.
Yeah. I remember I told you that
Thank you.
my system is not working. The other one the first one you asked us to do, the Oracle VisualBox.
Were you the one that is system crashed?
No, my system did not crash. It's just the fact that it keep giving me an error each time I try to do the whole
Okay. Who did I? I'm sorry. I think I'm getting it confused. I know someone reached out to me recently trying to access the file, and I think they couldn't access their VM, and it just really had to do with. Let me out. Never mind. I guess I thought you were the one, or maybe it was I. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, so if you're having issues with your VM, I think I can still stay and help people for some time. But if not, like, please feel free to leave. Have a great night. Let me stop recording here.